acrylic application on almond nails is not going to seem as scary as it might feel like. Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. So today we're actually going to be covering one of my most favorite, but also one of my most absolutely hated shapes. When I was a beginner nail tech and people started to ask for almond shapes, I always felt like almond shape looked great on me. I just don't want to do it because it was so difficult. It was like from the application all the way to the shaping process, like none of it when I did it looked good. So I'm going to break down how I ended up improving my almond application and how you can too. Okay, so really quick tips here. The first big tip I have for you guys is go get yourself one of these big nail cutters, okay? You don't want these to be too small because when they're too small, these curves out here are just gonna be really, really tiny and it just won't do the trick. So instead, you're gonna grab these like super big ones, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to envision that the very bottom part is also the longest part of the almond. So let's take our nippers and we're just going to cut one side first. And then we're going to take it to the other end and we can snip. And that right there is going to give you already kind of a quick guideline. Let's repeat it one more time on this nail. But this time we're going to cut it a little funky, and I'll show you guys what I used to do. So I was really confused and I would cut like this, because I was like afraid of cutting. I'd always feel like if I cut too much, like my shape's gonna be gone. So I would get this. Like that is the beginning of squoval. And we're not doing squovels over here, okay? So same as always, you're gonna cut, envision that the center, and envision the other one is your center. And then you can extend down if you need to. Perfect. So now your nails are already kind of in that shape. We're gonna grab the hand file and we're gonna curve out the tip. How you do this is you flick your wrists and you wanna focus this like that, in almost like a smile line, like this, okay? Same thing, always position your client's hands first. Pull back the client's perineum and you're just going to shave off a little bit. Don't go too crazy or else this nail is going to turn into like a round nail. And there you already have that shape already kind of coming out. Just round, just like that. Same thing. Smile line, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, perfect. Okay. Almonds are not scary unless you make them super difficult for yourself by using scissors, which I used to do because I would see a lot of people using scissors, but the scissors would give me way too straight of a cut, and then by the time I go to try to like curve out the tip, it just doesn't look good. I'm going to also clean up the sides a little bit here, and the other side. And then try not to touch too much of the edges here. Okay, perfect. You're already halfway there. Now you're just ready for the application. Let's grab my Luxuria Pro, and with a 120 grit mandrel bit, I'm gonna put my E-file at 3000 RPM, and I'm just going to etch around and take away the shine on the surface of the nail, especially focusing on the cuticle area. If you don't do this, your client's nails will not last you, okay? They're going to start lifting from the cuticle area very quickly. It doesn't matter how pretty your nail set is. If your nails are not lasting your clients and they start lifting in like 2-3 days, you can't charge for those nails. Next up, we're going to use the Ultra Prep from MakarttPro to dehydrate the surface of the nail, especially again focusing on the cuticle area. If there's any like oils, natural oils on your client's nails, they're going to start lifting by like day 3. And you can see that it's starting to dehydrate because it turns into that really nice misty looking area where we had etched the nail with the sanding band. Next up is the Ultra Bond. With the Ultra Bond, I like to focus on mostly around the cuticles, but also wherever the acrylic is going to come into contact with the natural nail. I don't really worry that much about like the free edge where my tip is, because no nails ever start lifting from there. It's usually right around the cuticles and then this area here once the cuticles have also started to lift. Now that everything is primed and ready to go, we can start our application. For the 2 different nails today, I'm going to use 2 different colors, all from MakarttPro. The first one is called Buttery Cream, and then the other one is called Radiant Rose. Let's start out with Buttery Cream. The first nail that I'm going to do, I'm actually going to do the middle finger first, because as I work my way over, I can use my pointer finger to like push down this nail so that I don't get onto it. But I don't really want to work this way over, because I already know the back of my hand is going to accidentally touch something while it's drying. So I just prefer not to do that. But it's totally up to you. If you feel like the back of your hand is not going to be so big of a problem, you're more than welcome to start wherever you'd like. Let's start our application. Now, 2 things I want you guys to remember in your application for almond nails is don't work with too much product, work with less. The reason is because almond application, there's not like a sharp tip here. So if you have way too much product, it's a little harder to cut off the acrylic when you have excess. Whereas like square or coffin, just cut off this excess acrylic. So work with less products. And then also try not to swipe and slightly work with more like clay-like, already almost pretty polymerized beads. I promise you it'll make your life a little bit easier. So let's fully submerge the brush into the dappen dish. I'm going to start out with a medium-sized bead for my first bead. Take that bead and let it polymerize on your brush first. This is Buttery Cream, by the way. You can see that polymerization process already happening. So let's place the acrylic down in the center of the nail and place your acrylic bead down, and then rehydrate your brush and then work with a tapping motion. And as you get to the tip and you feel like your acrylic hasn't quite set yet, move the acrylic upwards first and then brush it back down later. And try to avoid using the painting strokes just completely. Honestly, with the almond application, I'm not really using the swiping motion either as much as I would on a square or a coffin nail. Just because I don't want to end up having the product like walk all over to the very tip and then realize there's way too much product. You can use the swiping motion towards the very end. Once the acrylic has started to already pretty much set and it's just not moving, all you're doing is smoothing. And then taper it off to the tip, just like that. I'm going to pick up another medium-sized bead, and now I'm going to do my cuticle and my apex application. Same concept, let it polymerize first, and then work your way down. Point the client's fingers downwards when you're working with your cuticle bead, just like you would on any other shape. Blend the sides, and then you can work your way into the middle. All done. We're going to move on to our next nail. And for the next nail, I'm going to use the color Radiant Rose, which is also a really pretty nude. And this way you guys can kind of see like the difference between them also. Fully submerge the brush into the dappen dish. We're going to do a medium-sized bead first. And again, let it polymerize. Place the acrylic bead down in the center. Re-wet your brush and let's start tapping. Tap, tap. Help the acrylic get to the very tip without swiping as much as you can, okay? And then once the acrylic stops moving around too much, you can then swipe just for the purpose of smoothing, nothing else. You're not trying to move the acrylic. If the acrylic starts to move while you're swiping, stop. Push the acrylic back up. Okay, and now I'm going to work with a smaller bead this time for my cuticle bead. Take that around, let it polymerize on your brush first. Wait for it. And then tilt the client fingers downwards, place the acrylic bead down, lift up, re-wet your brush, and then you can mold and push the acrylic up into the cuticle area, to the sides, and then blend it back downwards. Now when you're blending down this last bead here, try not to go too crazy. I only work on like the top half of the bead and then the bottom half of the bead, and I just try not to touch it as much, especially in the center, because I don't want to flatten out my apex by accident. And there you should have your acrylic application for your almond application. I want to adjust my apex bead on this nail just a little bit more, and I want to fill in the tip here that I might have missed earlier, just so the two nails look a little bit more even. So let me grab buttery cream, pick up a small bead, not too big, let it polymerize. Place it down away from the cuticles. And let's start with that tapping motion again, working our way into the cuticle at the very top. As the bead stops moving, you can then start blending it downwards. Okay, and now we have both of the nails finished. This is the almond application, and you can now start filing, shaping, sealing the cuticles. You can do Frenchies on top. Everything is not that long, especially when you kind of make sure that you start with the right shape. And then just make sure you're working with smaller beads, and you're also waiting for that polymerization to happen a little bit longer than you would if you were working on like a square or a coffin nail. And I promise you, acrylic application on almond nails is not going to seem as scary as it might feel like. Alright guys, that brings us to the end of our video today on acrylic application for almond nails. If you liked our episode today, make sure you guys subscribe to our channel. I hope to be able to do another giveaway once we hit 5K followers. So make sure that you guys are subscribing to our channel, hit the bell so that you know when the next time we release new videos, and I'll see you all on the next one.